guys. Welcome to another episode of Banter and Brews. I'm your host, Will. I'm with a special guest here from Yuengling, actually, the brewery from Yuengling, Kurt. So introduce yourself, brother.
I'm Kurt Keene. I am the zone manager for DG Yuengling Son, also known as Yuengling Brewery. Been there for 9 years. I'm in charge of Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama. Sell a lot of beer, work for an iconic 195th anniversary company this year, 195 years. And it's a cool spot to be.
Oh, yeah. So let's get this thing started here
I opened mine a little bit early. I apologize, but
we got a good audio.
That was good.
Yeah.
I heard it.
Yeah. Cheers, brother.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Such a good beer. I remember being when I was a kid getting on the truck the first time. This was like one of our first non-Anheuser-Busch beers.
It was the first.
It was the first?
All the Budweiser wholesalers in the state of Tennessee were Anheuser-Busch exclusive until October of 2007 when we went statewide, all Anheuser-Busch wholesaler footprint that October in 2007. And then soon after that, we got I worked for a Budweiser wholesaler before I worked for Yuengling, and I've known Will's family for a long time. With that being said, after October of 2007, we soon got another brewery, Magic Hat, out of, I think, Vermont. And then short thereafter, we got New Belgium, which that's when the wheels came off and we were selling every brand in America.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think I was hopping onto a beer truck. I was 13 years old, so that had to be 2000.
It's tough math.
Yeah, it's tough math. It's been a long time. It's like, I guess like 2007, 2006.
Yeah.
So
that's right the time we came in. But we were talking about it earlier before we started. I mean, we are America's oldest brewery, 1829, for anybody that has might get that trivia question one day. 1829, it's been a long time. We're celebrating our 195th anniversary this year. 6th generation owners. Dick Yuengling is my boss. He's been at the brewery. He left the brewery and owned a wholesaler, like a Rolling Rock wholesaler in PA. Came back to the brewery in like the early to mid 80s when it was really struggling to make payroll. Soon thereafter, got together with his brewmaster and invented Yuengling traditional lager, and the rest has been a whirlwind. Went to, almost 40 million cases last year sold in our footprint, not including Texas, which is another joint venture, which we went into because we had no more capacity to make any more beer in our 3 breweries. We have one in Tampa, Florida, is our largest production facility. It covers all of the South up to Kentucky, and then from there, everything north of that comes out of our 2 Pottsville breweries. There's one in Mill Creek, and the oldest brewery, 1829, is right there on Muntongo Street in Pottsville.
Well, let it be known to all my Civil War reenacting people out there I reenact with, this is a historically accurate beer to bring to the reenactment. I don't want anybody to give me any hell about it.
Well, it wouldn't be lager. It would probably be one of our porters or ales that they made, in the breweries, in the barrel, down in the cellars. But
semantics.
Yeah, we are. We can go with it would be historically accurate. Yes.
So okay, tell us a little bit more about your journey through Yuengling. I mean, you gave us a pretty good early synopsis.
My journey through Yuengling, like I said, I was at a Bud wholesaler for 10 years, and then got the opportunity to be the state manager here in 2015. Took that, was the state manager for, 2.5 years, and then we were about to open up Kentucky. So I then became a zone manager, which what I am now. So I had Tennessee and Kentucky. Got to do that rollout, which is so cool, seeing the demand that people have for our brand when it's not available in their state. Mm-hmm. So I did that for 2 years, put a lot of miles on my truck, driving up there every week. And then after that, I think 2 years later, in 2018, I got Tennessee and Georgia, which fit me perfectly because I got to work with, 22 Budweiser wholesalers, Anheuser-Busch wholesalers know the language, know how they operate, how their business works, what they want to hear. I did that, and then about 3 or 4 years ago, I took over Alabama as well. So a lot of windshield time, a lot of beer talking, a lot of landscape changes in those 9 years, but now I'm here.
I was about to say, and my window of the beer industry is relatively small. I like to think that I've been around for a while.
I feel like you've been around longer.
I've been at least full time since 2016.
Yeah,
and then I did summers as a kid.
I remember when you came down. You went to ETSU, right?
Yeah,
and then,
yeah.
Then you came down right after that, right when the craft boom hit.
Yep.
And which has been a whirlwind, and it's starting to wean a little bit. And then the seltzer boom hit, and now I was in Georgia last week, and the CBD THC seltzers. It's more of a liquor store state as opposed to here. It's more convenience and large format stuff, but you see the THC CBD beverages absolutely everywhere in those liquor stores.
Oh no, it's the future.
It's coming, and I don't know how they're going to regulate it, but it is coming.
I guess it's one of those things we're going to wait to see what our lawmakers do on all
yeah,
that.
I mean, now
we're definitely watching it and trying to see what's happening in that landscape because it is such a weird spot right now.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's very embryonic right now where that industry is, but at the same time, I was in a Total Wine or a Local Vine, one of those large, huge package stores in Atlanta, and I asked their buyer, I was like, how many different brands do you have and how many different wholesalers are bringing you these brands? And he had 7 different wholesalers, in quotes, bringing those brands to them. I was like, really? He goes, and they're not all the same. They're not all. They're all different. Some are good, some are bad. But people are trying them at a rapid pace.
Wow,
which is scary for us beer wholesalers and America's oldest brewery. Who we don't do a lot of innovation. 85, let's say 82% of the beer I sell is traditional lager.
I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Well, I mean,
it's a great, wonderful product.
It is. That is a good way to put it, but at the same time, the life cycle of brands. I'm just in my time, in 19 years in the beer business, you've seen Budweiser be the king of beers. Then you see, Miller Lite comes in, and then Bud Light comes in, and that debacle last year. Now it's Ultra, and now the number one beer in America is an import. It's Modelo. Yeah. And then it's seltzers, it's RTDs, it's always changing. And where I work, Yuengling, we don't do a lot of innovation. We've tried. We're not great at building a brand yet. We're getting better. We came out with Golden Pilsner, I think, in 2018. It did okay. We learned a lot. It's still available, but not as many. Not as many SKUs as we hoped for, but it's still a pretty decent little brand for us. And then we came out with Flight, which is our chance to build a brand from scratch. And it was, 95 calories, 2.5 carbs, whatever. It is yellow and bubbly. We were talking about it earlier. We're swimming with sharks now. We're in there with Ultra and Bud Light and Miller Lite and Coors Light. And, Modelo, Oro, and all those. But we rolled it out in 2000 and COVID hit. And we're like, oh, great. A larger supplier probably would have cut bait and left. But our owner is very patient. He's like, guys, the future of this brewery is not going to be lager. Lager will always be there. We got to maintain it. And, it is a flagship brand. The ways of Guinness and, Fat Tire was, but not anymore. PBR, those iconic old brands, Budweiser. But if we're going to be relevant for that 7th generation or 8th generation, we've got to have a light beer that appeals to females, not teenagers, but soon to be early drinkers. We got to get that in their hands, and that's what we're doing. And, it was up. Thankfully last year was up over 100%, and our trends now are still good, but it's still a small base. But, we're getting drinkers here and there.
I was about to say, every time I go out to a golf course and we're talking about, what beer we're going to get in, I have to bring up Yuengling Flight.
You have to. Absolutely. We want it at every golf course. We do a lot of beer donations for events, And, for every case of lager we're going to give you, you got to take a case of Flight.
Yeah.
We got to get it in people's hands.
It's really crazy. Like, Dick Yuengling was that progressive. How old is he now?
I think he had a birthday like last week. I want to say 82, 83-ish.
Wow.
But,
he's on cutting edge.
People are pulling at him for more innovation all the time. And it's easier said than done innovating. Yeah, we have great brewers and they can make awesome liquids. But at the same time, you have to, you got to make it, and then you got to plan all these brewing cycles, because 80% of the beer we sell is going to be that one, and that's what the tanks are full of. So we don't have room in our breweries to just stop on a dime and change the line and change the package, and he doesn't want to do that. He's an efficiency guy. I think our breweries run at like 97% efficiency, which means the lines don't stop. So, and I have 30-something wholesalers now. They're always begging me for innovation. Hey, you guys need a slimline can. You guys need an aluminum twist off. And we do. But
how many times have you heard 19.2 from us?
Not 19.2 as much as the resealable aluminum bottle.
Cool.
The aluminum bottle.
That's Dad's thing right now is a 19.2
can. If I had a
19.2,
I think it would have to be a liquid that's fruity and hazy and high alcohol. Those 19.2s are between 6.5% to 12%, and they are fruit forward more than hops forward now, I feel like. So it's just a place that we can't compete in right now. Most of our beer is sold in a 12-pack and suitcase and 6-pack. I'll say that 6-pack, 12-pack. We don't do a lot of single serve. I don't know why, probably because we only have one SKU. We sell a 24-ounce can, but it's just we hadn't gotten there yet. But honestly,
I think sometimes in today's market, either you need to be highly innovative, or you need to be going back old school, going back to the roots of things. And I feel like it's kind of like when I envision some of the stories you've told me about Dick Yuengling and like the girls, them coming and taking over the business. It's kind of like getting back to just making beer.
It is, and it's weird because people ask for innovation all the time. And 2 years ago, Dick's like, hey, let's sell the brands we have. Let's do a better job of selling. And we had an iconic brand in Pennsylvania, but wasn't even available here. It's the Yuengling Premium. So we brought that in a suitcase in Walmart's or, some other large, and it caught on. But at the same time, people didn't know what it was. It's still out there. It's still great liquid. And hopefully, like you said, it's a retro package. It's a retro can. And I'm hoping, we'll get another package of it in.
I've drank Yuengling Premium.
Yeah, it's good.
And it is a great beer. And I'm telling you, like, once again, we're talking about pricing in our market. It comes in cheaper than Natural Light.
Yeah, it's right there. We have to ship it.
And it's a great full-flavored lager. Like, it's a fantastic beer.
It is. It's full body, full calorie. And, we've got a premium light that we could try down the road. But there's only so much space in these Publixes and Walmarts and Kroger's and Food Cities that if something goes in, something's got to come out. So hopefully in the next couple of years, we'll have a couple more value brand beers. You say that value brand, but even value is expensive now.
Yeah.
Beer's taking quite some steep price increases over the last few years, but it's cheaper than the other stuff. So hopefully we can get some traction with some other brands
awesome.
at that price point.
For sure. We've seen it, you were talking about like the CBD products coming in.
Yeah.
And, in our little corner of the world, seeing liquor stores come in and all the things they bring in and how it's affected the beer business. And once again, it's helped us drive into wine and spirits.
Oh, absolutely.
Just once again, like get a slice of the pie.
You got to fill the truck with everything now.
Yep.
You got to sell liquor. You got to have a good RTD. Y'all's NA portfolio is growing like a weed. You've got to do whatever you can. And I'm in these wholesalers every week. You walk into a general manager or sales manager's office, it's just full of samples of everything in the world, whether it be gummies, RTDs, THC, CBD stuff. Everybody's trying something. Everybody, and if you're not doing that, I think you're behind. And I think liquor stores coming into Tennessee being able to sell beer, that really opened up some eyes. And and I think it's been beneficial. But it's been a learning curve at the same time.
Once you've been in this industry for long enough, the beer industry is a really, really fun
industry
to been in. Like, once again, we don't want to go too crazy because I'm sure you got some pretty crazy stories.
Yeah.
What is a particularly fun story you have from your time, let's just say with Yuengling, something that just has stuck with you for a while?
For Yuengling or just in the beer industry? Because, I mean, I think when I was on the wholesaler end, I had a lot more. I feel like I went on more trips and incentive trips and all that. But, I mean, I told you earlier, like the day I met Dick Yuengling for the first time, when I was doing my interview, and I pull up at 7 o'clock at night, and he's smoking a cigarette on the loading dock. Didn't know if I wanted to work for Yuengling after that because I work hard, but, I mean, 7 p.m., I mean, it's tough. But it's always fun. And, my dad's boss, Bob Beasley, I mean, you've got Beasley in your family.
Yeah.
The beer business is, when it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's still pretty good. And we've gone through a rough patch over the last few years with all the innovation from other companies and all the new products to market. But at the same time, it's an industry where you've known people for generations. Like I've known you, Rossman, Bill Jr., forever. And I can go to Nashville and say the same thing. It's just generational friendships and families that are cool to be around, really cool to be around. And those friendships last forever. And I think that's the coolest thing about when I went from a wholesaler to Yuengling is getting in those offices with those owners, and they tell stories about my dad. My dad worked for two Anheuser-Busch wholesalers for 41 years, and they tell me the stories about your grandfather that are just hilarious. I mean, your grandfather was a legend in the state of Tennessee. And
I've heard a couple crazy ones.
This is probably not the podcast for that, but we could do it like the stuff that happened at UT games in Knoxville when I was 10 years old in the 80s is just legendary.
The After Midnight podcast with Will Tarver.
But no, it's been cool just getting to know all these families. Right when I got into the beer business, I played baseball for 5.5 years. And then every off season I would work at a Budweiser wholesaler. First 2 years I was a merchandiser. And then finally I was like, I would lose like 13. I would lose weight in the off season. And instead of you're supposed to gain weight and get in shape, I would lose weight because I'd work from 5 a.m. to 2 o'clock and slinging cases, and that just didn't work. So the second to last off season, it had to be 2002 or 3. I was Anheuser-Busch used to have these positions called CMTs, contemporary marketing trainers. So I would go out to bars at night. It was 2004, I know now, because I had just gotten married. And he would go out at night, and, you'd start at 5, and you'd get home at 11, 12, 1. And that didn't go well for my marriage, going and buying beers and having these receipts come out of your pockets. And it was just, you go out to eat, and everybody that works there, and your newly minted wife is like looking at you. I'm like, this is my job. But I've never had any situation quite like I have never had a situation like that. Yeah,
at all.
Yeah, buy people beers and you're their best friend, and then it just doesn't end well. But I got out of that position, and then I became a pre-salesman when I went full time finally, which is a lot healthier for the family.
I definitely understand that, and sometimes you just got to take one for the team.
Yeah, you got to learn the business somehow, and that was another part of the business I had to learn, I guess. Tell
you what, these Yuenglings have been extra good.
Well,
the story's been super cool. I love hearing about the business, and once again, you were kind of reminiscing on some stuff that I'm even fuzzy on.
Yeah, I mean,
that's cool.
It's a wild ride, and this is an awesome thing you're doing with these podcasts, getting it out there to the people. And thank you for allowing me to talk about Yuengling. Like I said, I'm not a Yuengling encyclopedia. I mean, it's 195 years old, and there's a video on YouTube. There's a 10-minute one and a 30-minute one. I will drive you there if you want to know the history of David Gottlieb Yuengling in the cellars of the original brewery, which if anybody's everybody's been to these craft breweries and these local brew pubs, and you get to see the shiny tanks. I challenge anybody who's ever visiting New York City. We're only a couple hours away, or Philly, or somewhere if everybody goes to Hershey Park, make the trip to Pottsville, There's not a lot in Pottsville except for the brewery, but the brewery is the coolest trip you've ever made. If you're a brewery guy, because it is 195 years old, and the stills aren't shiny, they're copper, but it's like a museum. You go down into the caves where they used to have to lager the beer. They hand dug out in the 1800s because it was cooler underground, and that's where you had to store the beer to keep it cold. That's all still there, just dripping with water all the time, but it's still there. And it is the coolest place you'll ever go if you're a beer nerd.
Sounds like an awesome experience. And I feel like maybe that's the next family vacation I come up with.
I mean, I don't know how you're going to fill the whole, if you go to New York,
like
book
once
it over
in
there.
New England, we got some near family
living
in New York, so we can go visit some.
There you go.
Of them
Yeah, you do Hershey Park, and then head on over. It's a full day of our tour guys do a great job. And what I need to do is we got a nice new draft house and kitchen in Tampa, and that's where everybody's driving for these incentive trips. And I need to do a better job and have my people do a better job. But we need to do an incentive trip. And we need to go up there to the brewery, and maybe from there we do a brewery tour and then go to a Phillies game or a Flyers game or a casino and get whatever, and make a trip out of it. I think that'd be fun.
Oh yeah, definitely think so too.
Yeah.
And once again, thanks for coming out,
thank
guys.
you.
Thanks for tuning in, and it was great having you.
Yeah, hopefully do it again. Cheers. I appreciate it.